Good morning, friends, or good afternoon, wherever you're watching this from, depending on what time of the day it is. Welcome. I am Pat Fairless from Fairless Stamp and Flair, and today we're going to make a card using the beautifully celebrated bundle. That is what I'm featuring this week on my blog post. So all the posts this week on there and my Facebook page are from the beautifully celebrated bundle. And so we're just going to make a card with that. And I'm going to make a variation of one of the cards that will be posted tomorrow. So let's flip the camera down and get started. So this is the card that will be on my post tomorrow. And basically this is a lot of die cutting. And we're going to make a variation of this. This particular one is, the colors are Blackberry Bliss. I love Blackberry Bliss. Who else loves Blackberry Bliss? What's not to love? It's a beautiful neutral. Goes with everything, it seems. But I do like pairing it with gold. But when I was going to just duplicate this card to make it, to show you how I made it and give you some tips and some tricks mainly, I realized I didn't have enough gold foil left to make another card out of gold. So I thought, well, I've got lots of silver foil, so let's make something with silver. So we're going to make a variation of this with Night of Navy and silver. But before we start that, I just wanted to show you these elements here. This gold leaf and this label here are from an ephemera pack, which I don't know if you've seen it or not. So I thought, it's in the new mini catalog. It is called the Beautifully Adorned Ephemera Pack, and it's part of the suite of products that the Beautifully Celebrated is in. That's a mega suite. It comes with 2 bundles, this ephemera pack, some really pretty gold, and this ribbon here, and some gems. Not these, they're not gold in that pack. They're Calypso coral and peachy colors. So I didn't want to put that on here. I used these gold ones. But I just thought I'd show you these. Now I've been using them. So my sheets are kind of missing some pieces. But here you can see this is one sheet. And these are the flowers that coordinate with the other bundle that is part of this suite. So this works with both of the bundles. And this sheet, I haven't used any on it yet. But I love this oval. I can't wait to use that oval. And this is the third sheet. You get 2 of each. And these are made with vellum. And it's a really nice, very thick, heavy vellum. You do have to pay attention to how you attach it. Hide your adhesive or your dimensionals or whatever to some extent on the clear ones. Or maybe if you're stamping a sentiment, put it behind the sentiment. But I just want to quickly show you those. So let's get those out of the way. We are not going to be using those because we're going to use silver foil. So I'm going to leave this out here as my guidelines so I remember what to do, kind of. But since this doesn't come in silver, this vellum, the ephemera pack doesn't include silver, and this is gold, we're going to make something for those. So I'm going to start with that because what I've decided to do is on both a leaf, and I am going to use this leaf. Let me show you the bundle. These are the stamps. And this have coordinating dies. However, the real reason, if I'm honest, that I bought this bundle was for these dies. I love these large medallions that you can layer. So that's what we used on today's card. That's what I used. And we're going to use those. And then we're going to use this, which cuts out 2 of these little corner pieces. So I really wanted the dies. So I thought, well, what the heck? If I get the bundle, you get, 15% off. And there's been way too many times where I said, no, I don't want the stamp set. I just want the dies, or vice versa. And I've bought them that way. And then 3-4 months later, I'm like, man, I really wish I had those coordinating stamps and dies, or dies. So now I just buy the bundle. I've learned my lesson because it seems like it always happens. So I'm going to move those aside for a minute and bring my grid paper on here. And the first thing I'm going to do is make the two elements that I'm going to emboss with silver embossing powder. So I have some silver elements. And I'm going to use this leaf from the stamp set to try to mimic this. This is a little longer, but I think I can make it work. So I'm going to emboss that with silver. I did also die cut this die from silver just to have it, because I'm like, well, if the stamped embossed one doesn't turn out, then I can use this, and who knows, maybe we'll use them both. But I did pre-die cut that. And then my sentiment, I wanted it to be a birthday card. I am really running low on birthday cards. So I took the happy birthday from the stamp set called The Right Words. So I'm using this happy birthday. And I just plopped it on here. So we are going to stamp this just on a strip with Versamark and then emboss. So I don't know about you, but I have lots and lots of strips, all sizes and widths of basic white cardstock. So I just grabbed one. How wide is this one? This one is just a smidge over a half, so 9/16. I know a lot of you don't like to work in 16ths, but I'm just going to try to stamp this on here. And of course, it's right under my camera where my head can't be. So let's try it. I have extras. Let's see how well I centered it. Close enough. Now, we might have to do it again anyway, because what did I forget to do? I forgot to use my embossing buddy on my cardstock. And it is winter, and so our homes are very dry. So we're going to see how this turns out. If I have to do it again, believe me, I got a lot more strips that I can use. But let's just see how much. Now, when I emboss, I just pour a bunch on. Kind of wiggle it around a little bit just to make sure it works its way down into that Versamark. Tap it off and take a look. That will work. I do not see a lot of little extra flecks of the embossing powder. So I'm going to set that aside. We'll emboss them together once I heat that up and we start making noise. So now let's just go ahead and stamp our leaf. Again, I'm going to stamp it with Versamark, which is if you haven't embossed, you're going to love this when you see this change before your eyes. Embossing with metallic embossing powders was probably my first wow. Before I even became a demonstrator, when I was showed how to do this, I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. So I like to let my Versamark, and you know what? Once again, I did not use my embossing buddy. So don't do what I did, do what I say. Always wipe your paper just to be sure with an embossing buddy. It just takes the static out. And see how you can probably see there's little speckles of stuff over here, and there's some over here. I'm going to just tap it. And if necessary, this little kit does come with a brush. This is not the brush. It's a bigger brush. You can brush these off. But again, don't do what I did. Do what I say. Use your embossing buddy. It'll just save you some headache. So let me grab my heat tool. Oh, and yay, it reaches. This is going to get loud. And I'm just going to heat this. And we don't want to overheat. What I like to do is get it going in one spot. So you can pick it up. And once it starts to change, hopefully you can see it. Then just move along until it all becomes shiny and raised up. And once it's all shiny, then stop. Um, if you overheat it, it can lose its shine. So let's do this one. Now that it's heated up, it'll go a little bit quicker. Usually I tend to tip my paper a little bit so I can see it better. And it is hot. This does get very hot. So that was quick and easy. So I'm just going to set this aside. I wanted to finish those. We're going to do all of our die cutting at the same time. And I have one more thing I want to stamp on here, and that is this little flower right here. And then I'm going to color that with Stampin' Blends. So I am going, because I'm going to use Stampin' Blends, we want to use black memento, or if you have colored memento, Stampin' Up! Only sells black, so I only have black. And I haven't really looked for colors, but you want to use memento ink, or you run the risk of your ink running or bleeding, whatever you want to call it. And there we go. That looks good. Now, it doesn't hurt. You're pretty safe to start coloring right away. It doesn't hurt to wait and let it dry. If you do not use Stays-On will bleed for sure, and you'll have a big black icky image by the time you start with your blends. If you use your classic Stampin' Ink pads, just make sure it is really, really dry, and then don't saturate it too much with your blends, and you should be fine. I've done it before and it does work. Just make sure it's very, very dry. So now this, I'm going to color this before I die cut it. It just makes it a little bit easier. And I'm going to use, this is Lemon Lime Twist. I liked how it looked with the navy. And this is Melon Mambo. I only have one of these, and it's not, this is really, really old. See what it is? It's a Stampin' Blendabilities. And I only have one left that didn't dry out. This is the medium one. But all I got to do is touch these little things, and it works fine for that. So I wanted this color. I liked how it looked with the Night of Navy. I wanted a bright pink, and this is the brightest pink I have. And all I'm doing here, hopefully you can see this, is I'm just dotting it. Because again, as I did in my video last week when I colored, blends are meant to blend, so they will move outwards. So don't worry about getting too close to the lines. And the way I can do that is just by dotting ink in there. Okay, so now that is ready to die cut. I have one more thing here, that we've got this large leaf here. There is sadly not a die that coordinates with that. I think I should write a suggestion that we should have coordinating dies with pieces that look like this. So I did fussy cut it. I stamped it with black memento. I started coloring it and decided I would finish coloring it with you guys, and I'm going to move my chair over here. Standing and stamping is great. That's how I usually do it. But standing and coloring when you're tall, not so great. I would need a higher table. So I have Lemon Lime Twist, and I have a light and a dark. It doesn't matter which I start with. I'm gonna use my dark to just kind of highlight the center seams, or whatever you call those, veins, I guess you would call those in a leaf. For some reason, the Lemon Lime Twist, there doesn't seem to be a huge difference. Some blends seem like they have a bigger variation between the light and the dark, I've noticed, and some not as great. So I'm just going to fill in all my stems here with the dark. And sometimes I like to just kind of flick a little bit up. It will color darker sometimes if you use the brush end. I think it gets more ink. You see it just, maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. I didn't want to use this end on the stems because they're kind of skinny. So I'm just going to flick a little bit of dark up my leaves here. I should look. Yeah, okay, I'm still in frame. Sometimes I'm fine. Sometimes I watch the video after and I'm like, oh, way down here coloring in the corner. And then you guys can't see it very well. So now let's just color the rest of this. And then this piece will be done and I'll be done coloring. This is not the order. You have to make this card in. Doesn't really matter. And I'm going to flip it around so it's right side up, just to kind of get a better idea of how it looks when it's done. Upside down works fine. You can see the lines, but and I'm not sure on a leaf like this, where would my light source be? So I'm not even really sure what areas to keep lighter and darker, or put highlights. I don't know. I just know it's usually darker down here near the base of the leaf. So I just kind of make that a little bit darker. And you can see it. Hopefully you can tell. I'm using short flicking motions. That's as opposed to just solid coloring. That's what I like to do with my blends because I feel like it blends better. I don't get as sharp of tendency to get sharp lines where one color meets the other. So that's just how I do it. There's no right or wrong way. Practice is what you want. And I know I said in my last week's video, the color lifter is your friend. I could grab my color lifter, but again, it's a leaf. It's going to be buried behind a couple other elements here, so we don't have to be too fussy. So now let's go ahead and I'm going to remove this and let's do our die cutting. Or let's do everything that I have to do with the Stampin' Cut and Emboss. I'm going to move my chair back out of the way. Here we go. We'll do that later. Oh, I don't know. How'd that look? Did my light want to fall over? You know what? I'm going to go this way because then I have more room for my hand. I don't have to get my hand under the camera. So standard sandwich here is we're going to use plate 1, plate 2, plate 3, and then we need another plate 3 for the top. And I'm going to cut these 2 little pieces first. So I will grab these 2 dies and lay them on here. Now sometimes what I like to do is take a little, you can use a Post-it note or a little piece of washi tape. I threw washi tape out here somewhere. Here it is. And just take a little, get a couple pieces of washi tape handy. I just kind of stick them here on my side so they're easy to grab when I get my thing placed. And you do kind of want to be careful. I know washi tape is not supposed to be very sticky, but sometimes it is. So I try to put it, like I do not run it across here because when it goes through these rollers on your Stampin' Cut and Emboss or whatever machine, die cutting machine you're using, it gets a lot of pressure to cut it and it will put that washi tape down on your image, and then sometimes when you peel it off, it tears your paper. So I try to keep it away from my, if I have to have a piece up top, I will just put it so I just catch the edge of the die. But these 2 are small enough that I can pretty much just do the stems and it'll work fine. If I was doing one at a time, I probably wouldn't do it because I can hold it better when there's just one. But to do multiples, the washi tape or a piece of post-it note helps. So there is that. We'll see. I'll start my little collection over here. We're going to see how that looks. We have to wing it a little bit. All right, so the other thing I have to die cut are these images up here. So let's do those next. And I need 4 of them. And this piece will cut 2. So I don't have to worry about it moving because I'm not lining it up with a stamped image. But what I am going to do, I have to worry about it moving enough so it doesn't come off the paper. But I'm going to go part way through until I hear the click, and then I go back. The reason I did that is I didn't want to muff up this with these, your plates have scratches and grooves and stuff, and it will mar your foil. Cardstock, you don't have to worry about it, but there we go. 2 of them, and we got 2 more to go. Now I can go all the way through because I just got a scrap left, right? And we will just run that. This is a better way to run it through the first time. And when I say that, I will explain why. Sometimes I have people that complain or have trouble with the effort to get this, to get the machine started, to get the sandwich started. And there's a couple things you can do to help that. If I look at this and you have all of your plates, so you've got your base plate, the middle one, and these 2, if they are all lined up equally here, your rollers have to get over that whole thickness right away. And that just makes it a harder effort. So the best thing I have found to do, even with the large one, with the small Stampin' Cut and Emboss, it's even more important, is to just take these 2 number 3 plates at least and just stagger them. If I put it this way, can you see how I've got them staggered? You could just stagger them about 1/4 of an inch or so. That's not real critical. The other thing that helps is oftentimes if you have a die like this that has a straight edge, either run it through in this direction, so lay it on your thing so the smaller edge will go through first, or like I did the second time, the curved surface, because now your rollers again don't have to hit, they won't come across this over a large area. This one's small enough, it worked, but it's a good habit to get into. And the reason I say that is because sometimes when you start and you run, like, so let's say you're die cutting a rectangle, if you have that long rectangle edge going into your machine first, the effort is really hard. And as you crank, all of a sudden it'll go and it jumps. And sometimes it jumps and it doesn't cut it real well. So if you stagger it, you will get a better cut. You'll get less effort from staggering the plates, but also if you put either, if it's a rectangle piece, put it through so a corner goes through first. Just rotate it slightly. Or this side, do the curved side first, or in this case, you could do this side first. So those are some hints for die cutting. Now we're going to do a little bit more die cutting. So we are going to cut this piece and this gold piece with these medallions. The whole reason I bought the bundle, right? I said we're for these beautiful medallions. And the white one we'll do first. And that one I did with the 4th largest die. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is this one. Let me just double check that to make sure. Yep. And here again, it makes sense to put this going in first, putting this going in first, even though it's not straight, you still got a bigger piece you're starting to put through first. So it just reduces the amount of effort to crank. All right, we're almost there. And now we're going to do the silver foil. And I did not show you the inside of my card. Get the stagger just a bit. So I'm going to take my silver foil. And now I'm going to use the third largest. So it's the one just bigger than the one I had. So 1, 2, 3. My third largest piece. And we're just going to lay that on the silver foil. This is a little curved. As it happens, right? It'll be fine. Just in case it moves, let's just tip it this way since I've got extra foil. And if I show you the inside of my card, what I did here was I put a couple of medallions on each corner. And rather than take a whole nother piece of foil, well, it's expensive, right? We want to stretch it as far as we can. I just laid this piece in the middle. And it doesn't really matter where you put it, just try to maximize the amount of gap you got around the edge, because you don't, if you put it here, now you're going to have, now it's not going to work for the front of your card, and that defeats the whole purpose. So just you can just lay it so it looks like you can maximize your border around in any direction you like. And then we will cut that. And we will have our piece for the front, and we will also have our 2 medallions for the inside of the card, all in one swipe. Now it looks kind of funny here, but that's okay. It's because it's all going to be covered up by the white cardstock. It's a great way to maximize use of your foil. Even if I didn't have a use for these in the center, I may have put another die, possibly even like a smaller one in here, and then just cut that out. And then I have that piece for later, right? I do that with rectangles a lot. I always cut out the rectangle. I shouldn't say always. I should say when I remember to do it. Okay, I think we are ready to start assembling. Oh no, I have one more thing I have to do with my Stampin' Cut Emboss. I forgot. I did emboss this front panel here. And I used this joined together embossing folder. So we are going to do that. So now I need a little bit different sandwich. I don't need number 2 and I don't need 3. I do need my card base or my base. And it's nice because they're always on here to tell you what you need. And this is a 3D embossing folder. You can tell that because they're a little thicker. If you forget to mark it, and if you didn't keep this, the 3D ones are thicker. So for 3D embossing folders, the directions down here is using your base plate number 1 and the specialty plate number 4. So let me grab that. Here is plate number 4. And I'm just going to lay my cardstock in here. I tend to like to, some patterns it doesn't matter too much. But again, it's always kind of good to get in certain habits. So I like to line it up with that edge. That way I know it's straight with the intended pattern, unless I obviously want it crooked. And we're just going to run that through here. And you always want to run your hinged end through the embossing machine first. That is to protect your embossing folder, actually. If you run it through with the open end first, you can damage your folder. And if you run it through side to side, which sometimes you have to do if you want to emboss your envelope flap, just be really careful that this is nice and tightly closed before you run it through, because you don't want it to shift at all. Whenever possible, just run it through that end first. It's a good rule of thumb to just get used to doing that. I've had it in my class where, you know, you have a new stamper and they don't really know that, so they would run it through the other way if I didn't catch them. And what happened was it actually cracked the hinge on the other side. So just try not to do that. All right, let's go ahead, and I need to pop these out from here. I stuck in my die that last time, and I probably, because I did not pop out all the little bits from my die. I don't know if you know what I mean by that. If you look at your die, a lot of times you'll have these detailed dies, the little bits stay in there. See the little piece of paper? It's another good habit to get into, is to just either take your brush, you know, the wheel. I don't have mine handy. It's in the other room. Or pop them out. Because then you'll get a better cut the next time. You won't usually have to then poke them out of your die cut. They'll just, the next one will stick in the die again the next time. And so then you don't have to poke them out this way. One way or another, you got to kind of poke them out. But now this is the way you have to watch me do it. Okay, and in my second cut, did they all come out? Those are all out. Those look all out. No, this was the second one. I think the other one was the first one. So I have these little bits everywhere. So we'll get these out of here. Again, do what I say, not what I do, right? Poke them out of your die, and then you won't have to poke them out of here. I don't know which takes longer. Probably neither, but you'll get a better cut. You could potentially not get a great cut if you got too many of these stuck in your die. This die's been working really well. Sometimes some dies, I'm not sure why, some cut better than others. Especially when you get all these little details, sometimes you end up having to poke things out every time. This is the first time I've even had to poke them out because I didn't poke them out of my die. So there we go. I think I got them all. I know I have them all on here. This is probably not going to want to clean up. This is a silicone mat. I'm protecting my countertop. I don't want to get ink on my new countertops, which are, what's this stuff called? Not granite. What's the other solid surfacing stuff? Quartz. So I bought this large silicone mats. They're very thick. Probably, I don't know, 1/8 inch thick. And they really protect my countertops. But some things, like if you get embossing powder on here, oh my. That's why I put the piece of paper down. So, all right, let's go ahead and get these glued in each corner. And I am going to use liquid adhesive. As much as I dislike using liquid adhesive with foil because there's so many openings, the snail just doesn't work all that well. So I just have to be extra careful not to get adhesive on the foil side. And the way that happens is when it's on your fingers and you pick up your foil. Okay, and I kind of like to just push that up on that edge. And I'm going to keep my paper towel here handy to get the worst of the the glue off my fingers. Because if you get glue on your foil, it is really hard to get off. Even if it dries and you try to use your glue eraser, it is very stubborn. It just really doesn't want to come off. I don't know why that is, but it is. And I can see one spot on this one where I have a piece that didn't come out. Okay. We've got the most of our work done now. It's just at this point pretty much just assembly. I think. Well, I got to figure out how I'm gonna make that little flower thing on the end, right? Or on the front. Am I gonna use the leaf or am I gonna use that die cut? I don't know. What do you think? Which one am I gonna end up with? I don't know. I do not know. Okay, one more. Oh, I got another little piece there. Trying not to get too much glue on here because the more I get on here, the more likely I am to get some on the front. Okay. All right. We got that part done. Now let's go ahead and attach this to the front of the card. Do I want to do that now? Yeah, we can do that now. I know I'm curious how this Night of Navy versus the Blackberry Bliss is going to look. I did use white instead of Very Vanilla. The other card was made with Very Vanilla. This one should be a little brighter, I'm thinking. And what did I do with my silver medallion that I die cut? Okay. Where did I lay it? Who saw me do it? Well, I had the piece that I die cut it from, but where did it go? Did I put it in the trash? Oh. This is not good. Here's the white one. And these are going to go on the inside of the card. Well, it's got to be on the table behind me somewhere. Let me look. Okie dokie. I am not seeing it anywhere. That is just the weirdest thing. So, we'll just make another one. It'll show off eventually. I'll have a really pretty ready-made medallion, right? I just have to find my silver foil. Okay. I'm still looking for it, guys. And I don't see it. So let me cut a piece. I looked long enough, not on the floor. So let's go. And I said that was the 4th largest, right? 3rd largest. Let me just double check before I cut another one and cut it round. Yep, 3rd largest. And we will, oh, I cut that a little skinny. Let's see if it works. It's not going to work without the base plate, though. All right, let's keep our fingers crossed. Who else does that when you're stamping? You totally lose what you just had in your hands. I do that way too often. Oh, and it made it. Whew! Just. It's somewhere, right? I don't know where though. Okay. It's going to show up when I'm not looking for it. So let's just go ahead and adhere. I did such a good job. I was in a hurry now and didn't cut out anymore, but oh well. Let's just go ahead and put this on here. That wasn't what I wanted to do. Put that on there. It does want to slide a little bit, so on the foil, so just kind of hold it. It takes a little bit longer to dry on foil because the foil is not porous. And I didn't get the glue probably out as close to the edges as I should have, but we'll go with it. So let's go ahead and put that on here, and I'm going to pop that up with dimensionals. Is this even going to stick? I don't know. Things are not going well. Once again, do what I do. Do what I say, not what I do. All right. We will pop that up with some dimensionals. You can fast forward through all that searching. And I'm just going to center that in here. I guess I'm going to center it this way because the card opens this way. Oh man, Pat. This card is a challenge. It's not that hard, guys. Now we're going to figure out how to make this thing. So I'm going to put this on here. And now do I want this leaf? Or I want this little piece. Or maybe I stick them both on there. And then we get a little pop of color. I don't know. It feels like that's too much. And the white with the silver embossing, I think. Let's try it. I like it on that side better. I guess it works. What if I put that on top of there and then this over here? Too much? It's too much, isn't it? I don't know. If I could talk to you, I'd have you give me opinion. I think I'm going to go with the leaf. I think I'm going to go with the silver leaf. What I should have done was put this on vellum, emboss it and put it on vellum. That would have been smart, but I just thought of that now. So too late. If I do it again, that's what we could do, is we could just emboss it on vellum. Now I'm going to put adhesive here only on the center stem. And before I put this down, I wanted to give you a little bit of a tip. What I do to add some dimension. I should have done this before I added the glue, but I just kind of take this, a bone folder, and just use it like you would if you're curling ribbon, only not so much, just lightly curl your tips, and that just will give it a little bit of dimension. And then I only adhered it in the center so you can see those lip tips then of the leaf stick up. And let's do the same thing to this one. Let's just curl this a little bit. And here I'm just, again, I'm only going to put my adhesive down here in the center. Keep it off from the leaves. And just kind of hold it for a minute. And then on my flowers, I am going to use some small dimensionals. If you're wondering why my dimensionals look like they're green or pink, I took a highlighter and I just kind of make lines on them. I do that because then when I put them on my, whatever it is I'm sticking down, and here you can, if you don't have a bone folder, every good crafter should have a bone folder. Get one if you don't have one. But you can just take your finger and slightly curl these things a little bit too. The reason I put the color on is because then I can see if I forgot to take a backing off one of them when you have several on. Nothing worse than getting something stuck down, except for one area. And it's because you didn't pull your backing off your dimensional. Okay, and we got our birthday. I'm going to go over here. We just will cut this down with our paper snips. I'm going to leave a little bit sticking out here so I can add a bow on that end. Maybe not quite that much. And then this side, I think I will just cut at an angle, a little bit of an angle. So now under here, I'm going to put, I'll take my bigger dimensionals. And I'm going to put one at the end and kind of one in the center. And the reason I'm not putting it out at this end is because this is already raised up and I'm going to adhere it to that. If I had a dimensional way out here on the end, it would want to bend this down. So I'm just going to leave that free floating in space. Because in both the dimensionals that I put on there are in here. So I'm still looking at this piece. Oh, what about that? With I think I'm going to stick that in there. I cut it, I might as well use it. So I will just put some glue here on the stem. And I'm going to tuck it under this leaf. So it's just partially there. Oh, that was a good brainstorm. I like that. Oh, I didn't have an extra piece floating around. Okay, let's make our bow. And usually I always have my bows all pre-made for you guys because I don't want to make you watch me make a bow. But today I decided I talk about my bow easy all the time. So this is what a bow easy looks like. And it's what I use to make bows. And you use each of these that come, you could make a bow this big, this big, this big, this big, this big, this big, this big on this one. And so I just figure out how big I want it. I think I'm going to use the bigger one because you can always, it's easier to pull it and shorten it up than it is to stretch it out, although you can stretch it out as well. So let's do this one. And to do this, you're going to take a piece of ribbon, and I've got some sheer ribbon here with silver on it, and you're just going to lay it across the bow easy, wrap it around the back. This is going to be hard for me to show you, not having it up to my nose. And you want to leave about 4 inches or so, and it helps to cut it at an angle because you do have to get it down in this center hole right here. So I'm going to feed it through there, and this is where it really takes 3 hands sometime, especially with wider ribbon like that doesn't want to just go through. But you pull it through. The back side is going to be the front of your bow. So you pull it through and you pull it back up in that little slot, and then you take this and you stick it through that hole and you pull it snug. Okay? Then I'm going to put it back through the hole again. This is just to get the ribbon on the right side of the bow or the tail, and then you pull it really tight. Now, and then you slide it off, and there's your bow. That is a bow easy. And now you can trim your tails however you want them. I will shorten them up a little bit. And we will stick that. I like the sheer ribbon because you can see through it. So you can, if you cover up your sentiment a little bit, you can still see through it, which is nice. And then I usually take a couple glue dots, and that's what I stick it on there with. So I'm just going to put 2 behind that little knot and stick it here on the end of my sentiment strip right over the, so I'll move it up just a bit. Oh, that covers more of the sentiment up, so let's leave it down and just push it down. And there's your bow. And you can play with the tails if you don't, you know, something's not exactly where you like it, but there is my bow. Now, what I should have is a couple of gems. So let's grab some rhinestones. Just grab my thing of rhinestones, and I'm going to take a couple of these smaller ones, and we'll just stick them here. Rhinestones good and go good with silver, right? And they're handy. So there we go. Now for the inside of the card, this is running a little long. I'm still wondering where my silver oval is. I'm still kind of looking for it. But let's go ahead. We're going to put one of these here, one here, with a sentiment in the middle. And since it's a birthday card, I grabbed a sentiment from Coneflower Celebrations. I love this one here that says, "I love that I've known you for so many birthdays." And so we're just going to stamp that in the center. I like to stamp first before I start gluing decorations in place. And that's because I don't always stamp successfully on my first attempt. Sometimes it's crooked. Sometimes I drop the stamp and make a big old muff. And then I can turn it over and use the other side without having to go cut more of these. So that's kind of how I work. Stamp first. If I'm going to put a decorative strip down here, I'll lay the strip so I can see where this needs to go, kind of like I did with the, I put these two little medallions up in the corners just to give you, kind of help you know where you want your sentiment to be. Just lay them in place. And then stamp, and then permanently adhere them. And we are almost there. So, get a little glue on the other side. Oops. A big pile up there. I don't like that much. I have a new tube of glue. Okay. And I'm going to use my snail on the back here. My hands are about as gluey as they need to be. So let's just do it this way, maybe. Or maybe not. Is it running out? Yep. Okay. This video has just been a challenge, folks. But we're going to get there. Persistence wins. Nothing ever goes perfect. But I think it's close enough. Sometimes when I watch videos, sometimes I like to see when the people struggle, because then I feel like I'm not the only one who struggles. So what you see is what you get. But I can tell you, it's still bugging me that I can't find that oval. Oh, it was close enough to bite my nose. I see it now. But the card is done. Yay! And I found it. I think it was underneath something that when I put my stamp and cut and emboss back there, it appeared. So there we go. We got our card done. Whew. That was a challenge. I don't know. How do you think? Let's look at them both next to each other. The other difference is this one opens this way and this one opens this way. Which color combination do you like best? The Blackberry Bliss with the Berry Vanilla and Gold, which is this one, the one I did first, or the Night of Navy with silver and white? I don't know. I guess it's if you're a gold or a silver girl. But let's go flip this over and wrap this thing up. I don't know how long that took, but that took longer than it was supposed to. So, at least I found my oval. I'm happy. I didn't lose my whole piece of foil. So anyway, we had fun. We got 2 cards. We got 1 card done, and we can compare which one we like best. Let me know. I'd love to know which one you prefer, silver or gold. Gold or silver, silver or gold, right? What's that song? I think it's a little Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer, silver and gold. I don't know. Somewhere I can hear the song in my head. I'm not going to sing it. Don't worry. You don't want to hear me sing. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all learned some tips and tricks. It was more all about just learning some everyday tips and tricks for embossing, heat embossing, for using your die cuts and embossing folders and so on. So there was no great new technique, but sometimes it's just helpful, especially if you're new and you haven't done a lot. Some of the little tips that you get from old timers like me are helpful. I love to watch videos too, because even after 20 years, I get tips that people do, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I never thought of doing that. Why didn't I think of doing that? It's so obvious. But anyway, have a great day. God bless. And we will see you next week with something else. Something else. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye-bye. God bless.